Yo, how's it going, guys? Today we are finally talking about the Wheel of Time. I'm sorry it's been a little bit of a delay. Of course, I had to get a tooth pulled the day that Wheel of Time came out. So I saw it when it came out and I saw it with my family and it was super awesome, really exciting. And then in the past few days after that, I've been like in a pretty good amount of pain and it's kind of been sucky. But it's been a few days now and I'm sort of feeling a little bit better. So sorry if I'm a little bit groggy, but I wanted to put this out. I want to have a review for each episode. So today I'm just going to talk about episode 1, my thoughts on it, sort of a deeper sort of discussion. We'll start with non-spoilers and then we'll get into spoilers. Be sure to like and subscribe and we will get into the video. Be sure to comment below what your favorite part of the episode was or what you like or didn't like about the changes and stuff like that, and I'll give my overall opinion. So for my overall thoughts, I was pretty positive on it. I liked a lot of it. There are definitely some things I wish they would have changed or were a little bit different, but all in all, I thought it was a pretty decent episode. I have my rating for it at the end of the episode, at the end of this, which I'll give, but I'm pretty much positive on the whole thing. I thought a lot of the changes really worked, and I see some of the changes that people didn't like. Aging up the Emmonsfield 5, people like that change, but a big part of the books in Eye of the World is that they're innocent to the world rather than jaded to the world, and with this change they're more jaded and they're more skeptical of everybody, and they're like trying to find their way and stuff like that. So I can get why people don't like the change from innocence to like jaded against the world, but I think it adds some very interesting things, especially when we get into episode 3. I actually thought it was a really cool cold open. A few opinions on the internet, they said they didn't like that opening with the Red Aja and the guy who has gone insane from using the one power, and I'm like, this is perfect to show like what, you know, we're going to be seeing what's going on with this world. I thought it was perfect. It was something that I didn't really expect. And then of course my dad's favorite part of the show, which his favorite part of the books and the lore, is that, you know, this is a futuristic world. This is another turning of the world, and we have ruins and stuff like that of the old world, so we see like skyscrapers and stuff like that, and it's really cool to see, which I really like as well. The next part that we got is of Egwene and Nynaeve, and Egwene is going into the women's circle as sort of her ceremony. She's getting her hair braided, she's becoming a woman, all that sort of thing, and I love that it shows that the river, she's being pushed into it and she's resisting it, and eventually she just accepts it, and it's a great way to show how Robert Jordan has described the women using the one power. It's like going down this rushing river, and I think it was a great representation, even though it wasn't about necessarily the one power. Next up we see Rand and we see Tam, and I really wish they would have had the fade here, but I get why they didn't, because they wanted that reveal like later with the fade, but I really wish we would have seen the Murdral, because that part in the books is just like so visually, it just stands out to me a lot, and I really wish we would have seen that, but we didn't, and I get it, and it's fine. Also, I love the soundtrack, that mountain music. Like I said before, Rafe is just like their mountain village, and I'm like, oh wait, yeah, they are. Like, I don't know why I never thought of the Two Rivers as a mountain village. I never have, but they are. They're right by the Mountains of Mist. So I love like the banjo and guitar and like the sort of mountain music they're doing, and I think it works perfectly. The next thing that I love is seeing Matt, Rand, and Perrin all together, the three brothers. I always think of them together, and I love their interactions, and Matt is down on his luck, and it's very interesting where they're taking Matt. Some people don't like it. I totally understand. I'm not sure how I feel about it either, but he's always strapped for cash, and we figure out it's because like his parents are deadbeats and his sisters, he's like caring for his sisters and they need to eat and all that sort of stuff. So he is going to be a thief, and he's going to do whatever he can to be able to provide for his sisters. So yeah, it's very interesting. I like it. I think it's different, but it's really cool seeing him roll the dice and them not coming together, and I love that touch. And then Perrin and Rand and Matt all talking together, and I love any scenes with them together. They're brothers and they're all going to look out for each other. The scene with Moraine coming into the Wine Spring Inn actually I think really works. When we saw the initial clip by itself, I was like, this is kind of like really clunky and weird. There were still some scenes and shots that weren't consistent, and I don't know what happened with that, but you know, it's all good. We have Perrin like jumping around all around the room, but I think the scene still works very well. It sets up a lot of really cool conflicts, and then we get introduced to Perrin's wife, which is an interesting take because her implications later. So we see that she's like pregnant, and that she didn't go to the ceremony or whatever with Egwene, or she didn't go and celebrate with Egwene, and there's stuff later in the episodes that's setting up like maybe that Perrin and Egwene had a relationship, or they're interested in each other. Just a lot of really interesting things that I don't necessarily agree with, but I think the wife thing can work if the theory is right. So I'm going to kind of just skip ahead to that. When they get raided at Winter Night, she is fighting with a hammer and he is fighting with an axe against the Trollocs. which I think is a great touch to his character if you've read the books. And eventually Perrin starts going berserk, and then he accidentally kills his wife. And if you obviously you've seen the episode if you're watching this, but if you freeze that shot, I'm sure this is the main theory that's been going around. She is holding the hammer over her head, over Perrin, after all the Trollocs are dead. So it makes us think that she's like a dark friend. Also, when we first get introduced to her, she has like all these like weird piercings and scars on her arms, and she's wearing like all black. It could just be because it's from she's a blacksmith and all that sort of stuff, and she's getting beaten up from, you know, smelting and whatever she does. She comes across like really angry and weird, and then he's like, you know, I love you, right? And then it's like, I don't know what the heck is going on here. But I'm totally in the camp of thinking she's a dark friend, and when we later see that reveal, it won't make Perrin feel as bad, but he'll definitely be like, still be conscious of it, of his like berserk mode, basically. I love Rand and Egwene's relationship. I think it makes it very dynamic and very interesting, and sets up motives for them that go beyond just their relationship, right? And affects the entire story. So I think it was great to definitely age them up and have their storyline the way that it is. Also, there's like this scar on Egwene's hand, or arm, that we don't really know what's about, so hopefully we'll see something about that. We haven't heard or seen anything about it in the past 3 episodes, but definitely Rand takes note of it, so that could be something that's later on. I love the hot tub scene between Moraine and Lan. People are like really weirded out by it or whatever. I just love that it shows their intimacy as a relationship that is not sexual or romantic, and just like shows the water bond, basically. It's definitely an interesting take, and I can see why people wouldn't like it, because it's like, that's kind of weird. That's not in the books, and that's not whatever. But I think it's very interesting. It's different, and I love the difference because it gives us something new with the Wheel of Time. So it definitely doesn't cross those boundaries with their like relationship, but it is something that is new, and I'm down for it. Padan Fain was definitely really cool and interesting. He came into the town like a Gandalf character would. Kids are cheering as he's coming in, but obviously we know there's something a little bit more going on, and we see him later in the episode with that smile during Winter Night, and he sort of slips away. I'm just gonna put a note in for later. I wish they would have done something with him in episode 2, just to add more to his character, but now at this point I'm like, when else is he gonna show up? And you know, I'm interested in when else he's going to come back, and I'm sure people who haven't read the books are very interested in when he's going to come back too. But if they had him in episode 2, that would have been really cool to, you know, stuff that happens in the books and kind of off screen. I thought they would have added that with him in there, but we just see him in episode 1, and then he's sort of been gone. So I hope we see him again and we get him back. Also very interesting that he has a relationship with Mat, and could set up some really cool stuff for later seasons on with what happens with Padan Fain and Mat and stuff like that, and maybe do some justice to Padan Fain's arc later on in the series. Then we sort of had the Beltane scene, and we had Tam give kind of like the lore of the religion and all of that, but sort of talking about the Wheel of Time and how the Wheel of Time works, and I believe it was a great monologue. I really was not confident that what was it, Roose Bolton, is that what he played in Game of Thrones? I wasn't confident in him being Tam, because that's not how I envisioned him, but seeing this performance here, I'm like, yep, that's him right there. This is perfect. I really love it. So I really liked the way Tam was. I love that monologue. I love what they did with Beltane, adding it more to like bringing back the souls of their loved ones and all of that, so adding more depth to that. And then the way that Winter Night happens, it just like is absolutely insane. They're all just dancing together, and the dude gets speared right through, and they're like, what's happening? And the Trollocs come out, and it's absolutely crazy. It was such a cool and awesome scene. There was only like 1 or 2 shots that lasted like a half a second that were kind of like clunky with the CGI, but everything else was like really awesome. So I thought it came together really well. I really liked it. It was really cool seeing Tam and Rand, and Tam pulling out the Heron Mark blade. I was watching this with my dad and my family and my uncles who have read the books, and when the Heron Mark blade came out, they were all screaming. We're like, yeah, like we were so excited. That was the great part about watching all of these, is because I watched them with book fans and non-book fans, so we were getting really excited, and then the non-book fans would be like, oh, what's happening, like what is this? And they were starting to get excited because we were excited. But it was just great when something would happen, we'd be like, oh, like it was so cool. I really loved the experience, and that's why I wanted to film during then, but also I'm starting to feel bad just doing this one episode because I'm talking too much with my tooth. It was in the front part of my mouth, and that's what I used to talk, and so I'm starting to get a little weary with that, but it was really fun. It was a great time. Also, with the women's circle coming together and killing that Trolloc, it definitely sets up some stuff that, you know, we'll see in later seasons of what's going to happen, but I love that the women's circle came together and killed that Trolloc together. It was a great scene, and they did that last sort of hurrah with Moraine like perfect. Like, I could definitely see it, because for me, in my critical mind, I was like, okay, she's just waving her arms around and then like things are flying. Like, okay, it's kind of cool, but it can get a little bit weird when it's just like, you just know that she's just flailing her arms around. But it was definitely a great touch that she was pulling from the wine spring end, and the wine spring end like collapsing behind her, and it really added that punch to the end of that scene that it needed, because I think if it just ended with her just like fainting after doing that, it wouldn't have had that much of an impact. But the wine spring end was a perfect sort of punch to end that conflict and kill those Trollocs. But the Trollocs were awesome. Some were eating some people. Matt was trying to save his sisters, and then Perrin, you know, accidentally kills his wife, and adds a whole bunch of implications for later on in the season. And another thing that people didn't like was, it was just like, okay, and now we gotta go after Winter Night. Like, they all just had to leave. She was like, it's one of you are the Dragon Reborn, and we have to leave, or the Trollocs will come after you. And then she gives a monologue for the beginning of the book, which is like the Wheel of Time turns and all of that. And actually, like, I started getting emotional at that part. I thought that part was really, really good. It was a great touch, and I thought the monologue was perfect to transition them out of the town. Some people were like, it happened too fast. I don't think so, but dude, that part at the end where she was quoting the beginning of the book, and, you know, just Robert Jordan's beginning to all the Wheel of Time books. Oh, it was a perfect send-off for the rest of the series and the rest of this season at the end of this episode. Like, it was. I have a lot of high praise for it, but I could not give my rating. I could not give it an 8. There were some things that were just holding me back. So I gave it a 7.9. I kept going between 7.9 and like an 8.2 or 8.3. I gave it a 7.9. I might change that in the future. So my range is 7.9 to 8.3. That's kind of where I'm putting it right now. It was a great episode. I think it was a great start. I think the pacing was awesome. I think the pacing starts falling apart later on in the season, but on rewatches, I think it's a little bit better, but pacing hasn't been too bad of a problem. And I think this episode was a great setup for the rest of the series. So guys, I would love to hear your opinion. What did you think about the first episode? I would love to hear from you guys, and be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.